Hello everyone, back again with me, Gusti Indra Prana, with my student number is 240-553-1027. In this video, I want to explain to you about one of material on physics is Archimedes principle. We start with introduction. The introduction of Archimedes principle is a fundamental concept in fluid mechanics that explains why objects float, sink, or remain suspended in a fluid. The principle was discovered by the ancient Greek scientist Archimedes, who observed that any object immersed in a fluid experiences an upward force. This upward force, known as the buoyant force, acts opposite to the weight of the object. This means that when an object is placed in a fluid such as water or air, it pushes the fluid aside or displaces it. The fluid responds by exerting an upward force on the object. Archimedes' principle has wide application in science and engineering, such as ship design, submarine operation, hydrometry, density measurement, and fluid mechanics. Experimentation. Understanding this principle helps explain many natural phenomena, including how fish control their depth and why hot air balloons are. Next, after the introduction, I have basic concept of Archimedes principle. The basic concept of Archimedes principle is based on the idea that when an object is placed in a fluid or liquid or gas, the fluid exerts an upward force on it. This force is known as the buoyant force. The magnitude of this buoyant force depends on how much fluid the object displays. The core concept is the buoyant force acting on an object immersed in a fluid is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. The key point of basic concept is number 1 is buoyant force or upthrust. When an object enters a fluid, the fluid pushes back upward. This force is caused by the pressure difference between the top and bottom of the object. Pressure increases with depth, so the upward force is stronger. Number 2 is displaced fluid. The fluid pushed by the object has mass and weight. The buoyant force equals the weight of this displaced fluid. Number 3 is floating and sinking. An object floats if its weight is less than the buoyant force. An object sinks if its weight is greater than the buoyant force. And an object suspends neither sinks or floats when its weight equals the buoyant force. Number 4 is density relationship. Whether an object floats or sinks is determined by comparing its density with the fluid's density. If an object density is less than the fluid density, it floats. And if an object density is greater, it sinks. And the last is applied to liquid and gases. Archimedes' principle work not only in the water but also in air. For example, hot air balloons rise because the air inside them is less dense than the surrounding air. The next is objective of Archimedes principle. Number 1 is to understanding the concept of buoyant force acting on object immersed in a fluid. Number 2 is to verify Archimedes principle by measuring the relationship between the buoyant force and the weight of the displaced fluid. Number 3 is to determine the density of irregular and regular shape object using the displacement method. Number 4, to distinguish between floating, sinking, and neutral buoyancy based on the balance of force. Number 5, to analyze how fluid density affects buoyant force and the behavior of object in different fluids. Number 6, to apply Archimedes principle to real-life applications such as ship design, submarines, and hydrometry. Number 7, to improve experimental skills including accurate measurement of mass, volume displacement, and fluid behavior. And the next, I have the Archimedes principle equations. In this equation, I have two equations you can use for Archimedes principle. Number 1 is for fluid pressure equation. This equation states the pressure exerted by a fluid increase with depth. Pressure P at a certain depth depends on the density of the fluid, P the acceleration due to gravity, G, and the depth below the fluid surface, H. The deeper the point in the fluid, the greater the pressure exerted. The variable is P, fluid pressure, rho P, density of the fluid, G, gravity, H, depth from the surface. And equation number 2 is for Archimedes buoyant force equation. These equations express the buoyant force acting on the object immersed in a fluid. The buoyant force equals the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. If the object is fully submerged, the displaced volume equals the object volume. If partially submerged, only the submerged portion contributes to Vf. The variables of this equation is Fa, Archimedes buoyant force, rho Pf, density of the fluid, Vf, volume of fluid displaced, and G, gravitational acceleration. After this equation, I have tool for Archimedes principle experiment. The tools is dynamometer or spring balance, container filled with water, overflow can, water collection container, measuring cylinder or graduated cylinder, solid objects, the example metal block, and scale, weighing balance. And the next after this tool, I have experiment procedure of Archimedes principle. Number 1 is measure the weight of the object in air using a dynamometer. Number 2, measure the weight of the object when it is fully submerged in water using the same dynamometer. Number 3, calculate the Archimedes force from the difference between the weight in air and the weight in water. Submerge the object into a container filled with water until it is completely immersed, allowing the displaced water to overflow into the collecting beaker. The next is measure the volume of the displaced water using a measuring cylinder. The next is calculate the weight of the displaced water. And the last one is compare the Archimedes force with the weight of the displaced water. The next after this experiment procedure is the data I have for as experiment of Archimedes principle. In this table you can see PV in the air on Newton is number 1 until 4. Number 1 is 0.5, number 2 is 1.4, number 3 is 1.0, number 4 is 1.1. And you can get of the data Archimedes force on Newton. Number 1 is 0.784, number 2 0.1568, number 3 is 0.1764, and number 4 is 0.1666. After this table, I have the conclusion of the material of Archimedes principle. Is number 1 is Archimedes principle states that an object immersed in a fluid experiences an upward buoyant force equal to the weight of the displaced fluid. Number 2 is the difference in fluid pressure at the different depths create the buoyant force acting on the object. And the last one is the buoyant force increases with the density of the fluid and the volume of fluid displaced. The reference you can use for this material is number 1, Archimedes Principle Physics 1 PDF, and number 2, Modul Praktikum Fisika Dasar Teknik Mesin Universitas Udayana 2025. I think this is the end of my video. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.